Guys, I am pessimistic. You guys got to talk me off a ledge here. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making this your first listen, for being here with us every day, for being an everydayer. We are coming to you live after Alabama takes care of business against the Wisconsin Badgers. Badgers fall flat in Tuscaloosa. We are getting into the Bama reaction. Anything positive to take from this win? What comes next? What's fixable? Plus your thoughts in the chat, in the comments. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like every player on the field, Mazda sweats every single detail because when you make every move count, pulling the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for our highlights this week. Moving the game forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Should we start with good, bad, and we always start with good, bad, and positive, or good, bad, and negative, good, mid, and negative. So I'm going to let you guys go first because I don't know if I have a good. I'm going to be completely honest. We talked about this before the show. So, Rajiv, we'll start with the good, or Justin. Actually, start with Justin because I think you were higher on this team potentially coming into this game.
Yeah, number one, the first thing I will say, I look at the scheme and what we saw with some of the things in this game, and I can see how this works. The offensive line absolutely has to be a good offensive line against a team like Alabama. It is not right now. But situations like the Ballard ball that was there where it was a miss, where he had inside leverage on the corner, that could have been a big play. You had a Vinny Anthony play that was thrown a tick late, or is probably a touchdown. You have multiple throws here in this game that I think were underneath that you looked at it and you're like, you're not necessarily getting hurt by O'Neal's arm as much as you look. Now, there were a couple of things that you don't like there. O'Neal made two horrible decisions in this game. But for the most part, I came away from this looking at it and saying the scheme is a plus. And that's something going forward that if you can get the pieces in place, I think you can see how this works. But there's got to be a much better offensive line that you can actually run the football a little that sets up some of this stuff a bit more.
What's
so for me, one of the things that I thought was good is, and did not saying they played great the whole game, but I think the front seven on this team is miles ahead of where it was last year. And people may disagree with me on that, and that's totally acceptable and fine. But I'm seeing guys playing harder on the front seven. We held Alabama to, I believe, 3.2 yards a carry, 3.3 yards a carry. We have a better rush defense than we did last year. And that is a good. And I think the front seven, while they got some pressure, they got one sack. Like they definitely stopped getting pressure at a point in the game. And Alabama made some adjustments to their protection. But I do think it's better than it was. And I think that a lot of the teams that we play on our schedule, we're going to have a defensive line that is going to be dominant in those games. I know that people are upset. I'm upset. I also just feel like I do think there are some things that you can take away from this game. I agree with Justin on the scheme. I think that Billy Edwards, I've been saying it for several weeks now. I'm very excited for him to come back. I think he's really a good quarterback and going to have a good season with us. And I'm glad that I'm eerily glad that that Renfro got some good reps, although I was very much calling for him to be out of the game because I don't think he should have been playing, especially after he got hurt once. However, the positive of that is that this O-line, they're saying, look, you need to rep together. You need to rep, because clearly this O-line needs to get better. So I do think that's a positive out of a negative. I wasn't happy that he was playing, but since he was, I'm glad that at least that O-line is forced to play a little more. There are a lot of negatives in this game, yes, but I just want to say, there are things on this team that are better than they were last year. That is all I'm going to say, and I feel like that's clear to me, and I know that there's a lot of bad things as well.
I don't know if I have a positive. And this is I've always said, you're never as bad as the film will show. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the all 22, and I'm sure I'm going to find things here and there that I like. I feel like we almost have to comb for positives in this game, and I don't really want to do that. I'll say Vinny Anthony, right? Obviously the kick return, but he was also open in a great double move, and that was a bad throw by Daniel O'Neal, bad timing. Vinny should have had 2 touchdowns in this game. I think you could point to Vinny and say he gave us a spark. He really showed his athleticism. He ran away from the Bama kick off team. He ran away
wide
from
open, wide open on the touchdown. That should have been a touchdown.
Too. Like, so Vinny, but dude, aside from that, I don't have a positive. I thought this was a disaster, quite frankly. And I don't know. I agree with you, Justin, on the scheme. We schemed some things up open, 100%. And I agree with you, Rajiv. The rush defense looked different, but Bama didn't really have to test it. Bama ran it a couple times, really, and they're like, all right, we're just going to go to the pass. I'm curious if they had to consistently test it, if we would have held up. I don't know if we know that. I just don't know, because the passing was so easy for them that they just kind of said, YOLO, F it, we're just going to throw the ball. So I don't know. To me, it's Vinny. I think my mid is maybe I disagreed with a little bit of mid is tough. I mean, there's a lot of bad. There's just a lot of bad. I'll say this, Rajiv, to your point of Renfro being in there. I thought towards the end of the game that they should have played smarter. They should have Renfro out, get Corey some. Renfro's been injury prone. That felt like a weird coaching decision to me. The game is over.
Reiger was in late too.
Reiger too. To me, it felt like someone on the sideline has to step up and say, these are injury prone, really key players. Let's pull them out of the game and get Corey reps, Clayton reps, those type of things. I'll pass over to Rajiv. What's your mid in this game?
I mean, it's tough to have a mid in this game because it is kind of good or bad. Honestly, I think that I will say special teams had a pretty good game. That's good and sort of mid, but there were times that I think the pass rush was okay. Certainly Reiger had some decent plays and Allegro had some decent plays, and there were parts of the defense that I could say are mid overall. But boy, it's hard to find one, man. It kind of goes from good to bad pretty quick.
Do you want to just jump into bad, and then Justin will kick it to you for mid/bad? Rajiv, what's the bad then? Yeah, let's just jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's mental mistakes all around, first and foremost, to me. Like the penalties in the first half, come on. Illegal hands to the face, 15-yard penalty, and then the decisions from Danny O'Neal to throw those horrific interceptions. I mean, the first one was easy. The second one, I know we were texting about whether it was a misread potentially, should Mason have cut in front? My point is, even if he was supposed to cut in front, don't throw the ball because he's not open. You can't
throw it away.
He didn't have good position to get inside. So you just can't throw that ball. I think Danny O'Neal overall had a pretty bad game. And I know that I give Danny O'Neal tons of credit for the way he came in and played the last couple of weeks. And I think there were parts of his game, throws that he made were great. That Ballard throw was fantastic. But overall, the mental mistakes from on all sides of the ball are why this game wasn't closer and it looked so bad. I'm not saying we were going to have to beat Alabama. We all agreed on that. But it could have been a lot closer without things that are just stupid mental mistakes that should not happen.
Yeah, I think that's why I look at some of the comments that we're seeing and stuff like that and see people acting like this was unexpected. Nobody was predicting that this is going to be a win. And if you got your hopes up and were expecting that, that's on you. This was
maybe me and Ryan last night.
No, and you as well. I think it's fair to point out we all talked about this being closer than this. I think
Well, no, that's fair to point out, but we also figured that this team was not a team that was built to compete this year. We've talked about, even with our records, me putting a ceiling on it at 8-4, that still predicts 4 losses to basically every team with a true pulse that you see. I wasn't predicting this to be a win. None of us were. So I look at it and I'm like, people looking at this and acting like we should compete with a team that's loaded like Bama is. And whatever. I don't know what to make of them yet. Week 1, they looked like a team that was barely top 25. The last 2 weeks, they've looked like a team that's a top 5 team. We'll see what Bama is as the season plays out. But I think my frustration with this kind of comes from looking at it and saying, our roster's not there. We know it's not there yet. And it's going to take a couple seasons to build to get to that point. And Wisconsin's never going to be a team that year in, year out is going to come into a game like this and be consistently hanging with Bama. It's going to be build up to an opportunity where you maybe take them out, and then you're going to have to regather and come back.
Can I just say, just to add on to that, Justin, you're right in that we did think we were going to win, but this, the way that we played the mistakes that we made that just did not need to be made is why I think that like I do get really upset about that. Like I do see positives and I think this team can be a lot better, but it doesn't excuse the stupid mistakes that we made and how we played today, that we didn't need to do this. Like it didn't need to be as bad as it was. And I think that is super frustrating. Like it's just kind of like, when can we stop getting in our own way? Yeah. And I think part of that, as we'll talk about another bad for me, is like coaching. I think that like we have to be able to coach that out. We have to be able to stop having stupid penalties all the time in bad situations. And I do think that comes back to Luke Fickell. I think it comes back to like coaching on the offensive line. Like there are things that if this team is going to hit a level of, whether not necessarily the ceiling, but if this team's going to hit a level this year, these things have to be cleaned up. And it is unacceptable to me that we're still having these problems. Is this team better in talent? Yes. Can we be better? Yes. Can we have a better record than last year? Absolutely we can. But we have to stop with the stupid crap.
Yeah, just before you jump on this, I wanted to hit this other comment, and then we do need to hit a break. Will had put up earlier, you all stated this to be much more competitive. I want to own that. I was effing wrong, and I'm pissed about it. Like I'm going to own my stuff.
I own up to that. I am
going to own my mistakes. I
expected. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
That's why I'm pissed off about this, because there's levels to this. I'm not. I said in a ceiling text to Justin and maybe Rajiv, or maybe both of you, maybe one of you. Even when we play well, I didn't think we'd win this. I think my ceiling score for the Badgers was 28-24. I'm pissed off that we have stupid penalties that extend drives. I'm pissed off that we're making bad reads, that simple interceptions. That I'm kind of ticked off, quite frankly, that when Renfro went down, they put Kadenko in for a snap, and then they went to Corey, and Corey was better. Like, why isn't it just Corey in that spot? I think there's a lot of things here. There's levels to this. We did not play well enough. Ty Simpson absolutely carved us up like a pumpkin on Halloween. And it kind of ticks me off. Like, sorry, I apologize. I am frustrated by this. And I was dead wrong. Will, to your point, I was dead ass wrong. I thought this would be closer and more competitive. And
should we take a break, Ryan?
Yeah, we do got to take a quick break. And then Justin, I know you had a comment up there next. We can start with that one next. We do got to take a quick break. We got a bunch more coming up. Plus, what out of this game is fixable going forward? Certainly, the Big Ten schedule is still ahead of us. As many have pointed out, everything for the Big Ten is still on the slate for this team. I think that's important to note as well. Coming up on Locked On Badgers, that plus what can be fixed out of this. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe, maybe it's not just about playing the game, but it's how you redefine it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, we got to give it to Vinny Anthony, right? Like, that dude absolutely showed up today. The kick return, wide open on that double move. I think he showed the type of player he is. Absolutely in this game. He defined that game for the Badgers. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, let's jump back into this, Justin. Sorry, I cut you off in your comment, but if you want to throw yours back up there and run into it.
I don't know if I can find it again. I mean, it was Shake saying effectively that me telling the fans that they were wrong because when I predicted 8-4, I didn't predict this to be a win. So I don't know what you're expecting from me. Did I expect us to play better in this game? Yeah, I did. I took more away from the game week one from Alabama against Florida State than I took from a game against a University of Louisiana Monroe, who was completely overmatched. That's on me. I own it. And all I'll say about this is pretty simple. I look at this game and I never expected us to be winning this game. And if you set yourself up for that, I'm sorry, but there's none of us told you that this was going to be a win. We hoped that we would be more competitive than we were in this game. And I own that. I was wrong about it. It is what it is. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm right in some way. I still think that this team has a fair amount of upside, but I never expected them to be a really good team right from the get-go. We hope that they would grow together.
Good comment here from Christopher Gerber. You have a right to be pissed, Ryan. We play bad football again. Why should we expect anything different? 5 wins is the ceiling this year. I think that this is to me a very acceptable frustration from all of us. It's like, why do we have to play so poorly? Like, our talent deficit is already there. We see that, but we have to be able to overcome some of these things and play a little bit better on a consistent level. We got better talent. We have to be better in little things like that.
Let's talk about secondary for a second, because one of the questions coming out of this is what's fixable out of this game. This game does not define the season, I'll be straight up on that. As frustrated as I am, and I think this is probably about as frustrated as I've ever been on a show like with you guys. I just felt like we fell on our face today. The secondary needs to be better going forward.
Absolutely.
Rajiv, start with you on this one. What in the secondary is fixable going forward? Some of this is Bama. Some of this is Ryan Williams. To Rajiv's point before our show yesterday, it was really freaking good. But some of this is we're also not in the vicinity of some of these throws. What's fixable here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much is fixable in the secondary, at least without some major schematic type stuff. Look, Rico Hallman is just not playing very well. That's just a fact. Like, and I brought it up on our show last night, Ryan. Like, it was underrated. Well, you're right, it wasn't really underrated, but he just isn't looking that good. He has graded out fairly poorly from a coverage perspective, and yes, it's Alabama's wide receivers. I think that, maybe we need some more pressure potentially. Maybe we can bracket some guys more than we did. I mean, I don't know that it's really fixable. What I will say is we're not facing a receiving core that looks like that very much throughout the season. Yes, we're going to see it against Ohio State. Yes, we're going to see it against Oregon, but that's about it as far as a receiving core go. So will we be better just because we're not playing that talent? Yes. And Ty Simpson, let's give him a lot of credit. He threw the ball incredibly well today. Yeah. We're not going to face quarterbacks that look quite like that. There's a lot of things about Bama that are not as good as they normally are. Offensive line being one of them, which is why we obviously did what we did to them. But they're pretty good. So the secondary was never going to really do that great today. But I don't know. The issues are there. And Ryan, I don't think they're really that fixable. Truthfully, I just think we ought to just we're luckily just going to play worse talent.
I agree with that. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, yeah, your turn. Secondary, fixable, not fixable. Thoughts?
I think some of the players will get slightly better. I don't expect much of a leap from Hallman this year. I think he kind of is what he is at this point. I expect Agard to get better, and I expect him to be significantly better when he's not playing this level of talent. But he's going to be a kid that's going to take some lumps, and we said that from the get-go. He's a very talented kid who's got a lot of work to put in. He's his first year starting. He's a redshirt freshman. It will be interesting to see going forward how they do, because I think Simpson was really he impressed me. He put the ball on his guys. He just didn't miss when it was there. So yes, some of it was coverage, but some of it was also he was just locked in and making good throws. We're not going to see, other than maybe this level of talent, who would you say? Maybe Sane, and probably more from Oregon.
Definitely Ohio State and Oregon are going to be in this tier. Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, I'm not sure. I guess it depends on what you think of Mendoza at Indiana. But I don't think Mendoza and Altmaier have this level of throwing talent. So I look at it a little bit, and I'm kind of I just don't know how many quarterbacks can cover us up. And I'm not sure how many of the other programs that we play can run a functional offense without leaning on the run game like this. Most of them can't just sit back and be like, we're going to throw 3 straight downs and expect to consistently hit on plays, which I think makes a difference.
I just expected us to be a little more competitive, right? With a veteran Hallman, a veteran Austin Brown, a veteran Preston Zachman, an Emilio Agard we thought pretty good of, a pass rush we thought would be a little more impactful. There were times it just didn't feel like we were competitive. And I think Tressel was kind of trying to flip through his Rolodex of let's play zone. And then Simpson did a great job of picking that apart. Then let's play man. And we just can't stay with the receivers. I thought the pass rush trailed off a little bit. Justin, I think you had a good point. He was getting rid of the ball pretty quickly. But there were also times he had 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket.
Oh, for sure.
The pass rush has to be good for this team this year, because I think the secondary is going to rely on it. And let's give Proctor and those tackles credit. We talked about that before the game. They won more of those battles against Riger and Cheeks than Wisconsin won. And that was a big deal. I think early in the game, we had a little bit of pressure on Simpson, and we had a chance to win that first quarter. But when it didn't happen, it snowballed and our pass rush fell off.
Well, I think – oh, go ahead.
I just want to put this comment up and talk about this real quick. Mike says Tackett Curtis covering guys in the slot regularly throughout the game is a Tressel problem. I think it's a good point. I do want to ask you guys your thoughts on the defensive scheme there. I do think that we needed more secondary on the field. We needed to bring in nickel and dime packages. I think that we obviously came into this game thinking we have to shut down the run. And for the most part, we did. They definitely had some chunk runs and that were blocked really well against us in several parts of the game. But I do feel like Tressel made some errors here from a scheme perspective that could have maybe helped the secondary a little bit more and made the passing game. I think they threw 382 yards. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, so what do you guys think about the scheme that Tressel had?
I'm curious to go see the all 22 on it, but I did feel like it was overly conservative. It felt like Bama put us in spots that made us uncomfortable, vice us doing that to them. And I think there was a point in the game where it's pretty clear DeBoer shifted from we're going to try to run on this team to we're just going to air it out. I think at that point you got to get
we needed to adjust
or another corner. You got to get somebody else on the field because they were just underneath. Everything was underneath for probably about 8 minutes for them. And
who was the hybrid safety from a couple of years ago that we took in?
That we did what?
The hybrid safety from a couple of years ago. I can't remember his name. But he would have been. They need somebody at linebacker. I feel like that's just more of a coverage guy in that group. I don't know if we really have that guy right now, but I think it would really help if they had somebody who's capable of kind of just roaming the center a little bit more in situations.
Yeah, I think Tackett north and south is pretty good. Tackett covering a whip route, which is what he was asked to do a couple times today. Even in a zone, like here's the thing, like he's in a zone, but in a zone you still have to cover the people in your space and crossing through your space, and he's not capable of doing that against Bama. So it did feel like Tressel maybe got caught back-footed there. I think it's a good point, Rajiv, that you brought up. All right, let's take one more quick second. I do want to keep going with what's fixable in this game. We got to talk running game. The Badgers averaged 2.6 yards per carry today. That's been an issue this year. Is that fixable this season? Plus other thoughts and your comments. We have 20 starred comments right now. I'd love to get into some of those next on Locked On Badgers. Let's take a quick second for our friends of the show. Quick second, as always, to say thank you for joining Locked On Badgers, being part of this community. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Drip Drop. Listen, the weekend, when you're watching college football, it's a good time to stay hydrated. Drip Drop is a great friend for you to stay hydrated. And if you want to be on top of your game, hydration is a key component to that, whether you're working out or whether you're just watching the Badgers and you got to mix some hydration in with your other beverages of choice. You have to stay on top of your physical game. That's where Drip Drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, everything is better. My podcasting's better. My communication with Justin and Rajiv is better. Even my skin looks a little bit better when I'm getting those fluids I need every day. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Head to dripdrop.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Doctor developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration. Dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. You get 20% off. Stock up now before the season gets even tougher. Today's episode also brought to you by DoorDash. Weekend just happened. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP again. It's going to be Vinny Anthony. Delivered on the kick return. Should have had another big one. Had another 8-yard catch. That was a first down. He was great today. Vinny was great, and he deserved probably a little bit better. Just like Vinny Anthony delivering, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season long, and you can save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo code through 11/18. Let's get back into this. Let's talk running game quick, and then we got a bunch of comments. And I definitely want to kick it to you guys, too, if you guys had any other thoughts or things here.
Just real quick, I was going to say, it's Raphael Dunn who I was thinking of. And that would, if you could find a way to turn him into some type of, against a pass-heavy team, making him a linebacker that kind of flows in the middle in coverage would be great.
Yeah, like, he's young still. Got great length. Justin, I'll start with you in this one. I think we hit Rajiv first for the passing stuff. Running game, is this fixable?
I think you have an opportunity to get the line to gel a little bit. It's never going to be good this year. Like I look at it, I'm just not sure how good this young offensive line is going to be if with this. And I made comments to you guys during the game. I was almost like, just start Corey, get ahead of it with him and get him reps. So by next season, he's ready to go. And you effectively have then, 3/5 of your offensive line that's got significant experience heading into the next year. And instead we went back to Renfro, which is fine. I guess you want to get out of this game, whatever. You kind of agree with it. I just don't think it was worth it to put him back out there. Just keep getting Corey reps. It's a great atmosphere for Corey to get reps in a game like this. And he actually, he competed. I thought he did a pretty darn good job for his first time out there in real playing time, playing against that group of players. And he I don't think he gave up a pressure. Kadenko was a train wreck on the one rep that he had.
Yikes.
Rajiv,
So first of all, I totally agree that like Ryan Corey needed to play more, which is fine. Like I do think that some of this O-line play and running game is fixable because of the fact that the line in its current form, if everyone stays healthy, with Malman, Brunner, Renfro, and then Cubberly Mandel, they've now played 2 games in that set. I think this was a far better defensive line than what we played last week. And I think that group, the overall offensive line play, was a little bit better than it was last week. So I'm not saying it was a ton. I'm not saying it was great, but it was better overall against a really good team. So I do think that against Maryland's going to be a really good, interesting test for us. Like they're a team that we need to beat. Probably the most we're going to be favored over any team the rest of the year and probably until the middle of next September. So like, it's a really important game, and how we run the ball against that team is really going to dictate how well we can run the ball the rest of the year, because we should be able to. I do think it's fixable. Is that me just being optimistic? You damn right it is. I am being optimistic, and I'm choosing that. And I know a lot of people are like, why are you guys so optimistic? I hear that. I want to be optimistic because I still believe that parts of this are going to get better. And I think this is one of those parts. You have those 5 guys. If they stay healthy, that line looked better today. It should hopefully continue to gel. As Justin said, I agree with him, though. It's never going to be good this year.
That's interesting, though, right? Considering how high we were on Dylan Jones and how good we thought they would be this year. We have a question coming up where have we revised our record predictions? And if we've gone from what we all thought was going to be a pretty good running game to it's never going to be good this year, I'm curious if that's changed our projection a little bit. I will echo something Justin said. I thought Ryan Corey looked good. Hats off to him. That's not an easy environment to come in. You probably weren't expecting to play necessarily. You go into Bama, and we know he struggled with snapping too. I thought he looked really good for a redshirt freshman. His snaps were good, and he didn't get overwhelmed physically in the reps he had. Again, I thought this was a moment to get him more reps late in the game. Renfro is dinged up. I would have lost my mind if he got hurt in what was essentially garbage snaps towards the end of the game. And when you could have been getting Corey snaps, because Renfro's an injury prone guy anyway. It just little things like that drive me nuts because it feels like the big picture is at times missing. But that being said, I did think Corey looked good, and I think those snaps are incredibly important for him. Will the running game be better? I do think so, because I actually kind of like Mandel at one side. I like Malman at the other side. If Renfro's coming back, Brunner needs to play up to the level that he's expected to play. He can't have penalties like he did today, but I think Brunner's solid.
That was a backbreaker.
That was a backbreaker, right? Him and Reiger, and Rajiv, you hit on it. That short-circuited 2 drives. One that we had to stop, where they went down and scored, and one where we were driving, where we had the punt. But I actually do kind of agree with Rajiv and Justin on this. I do think it can get better because I like the pieces that they've kind of found on the offensive line. And I think if Cub keeps getting reps, he's going to get better. Mandel's going to do nothing but get better at right tackle with experience, and Renfro being healthy is a huge deal. So I can buy that one. I can, even as disappointed as I am in today's game, guys.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely, there are things that, I would say this earlier when I said it's not going to be good. I think the O-line play is not going to be good. I think we do have really good running backs. And there was a comment up earlier that Mike put up about Darian Dupree. And I think that Darian Dupree actually, I like the way that Darian Dupree is playing. I think that he's a nice change of pace from Dupree. Yak is running hard. Aker, just a man amongst boys, running really hard. Like, I do think we've got good running backs. If the O-line play can just get better and be like when the Davis Heinzen experiment did not work, that made the offensive line, it's not going to hit a good level this year because you've had to make too many changes. But it can be functional, and it can we also played Alabama. Like there most teams in the Big Ten have played nothing but crap teams in 3 weeks. So like we've tested ourselves against one of the best and most talented rosters in the country. So let's see what we can grow from this, if we can grow. But we got to just play better overall.
Let me throw this comment up from Andrew P. And then Justin, I'll let you jump on this because I think I just cut you off. 90% of P4 teams would have had games like this in Tuscaloosa. If Big Ten play looks like this, then I'll be worried. My very initial thought on this is I understand the sentiment of it. And Andrew, I agree with your overall point that a lot of teams struggled going to Bama. That doesn't mean we should look like this. And that's just where I come back to. It's not the loss. It's in ways how uncompetitive we looked. Listen, Bama had a bunch of their 2s and 3s in the third and fourth quarter. Like, this wasn't a competitive game I miss Wisconsin making teams sweat a little bit. And never, outside of the first 8 minutes of this game, it felt like this was downhill the entire way. So I guess I don't get the sentiment of coming out of this game saying, it doesn't matter because it was Bama. Lots of teams would look bad. I push back against that sentiment.
So what I guess I'll come back and say on this is if Alabama ends up winning the national title this year, like, because look at the game that we had against Alabama the last time we played them under Christ. We lost that 35-17?
35-17.
And what was our record at the end of that season? Something like 9-4 or 10 and something?
Something like that. No, it was closer. That game was closer than this, and it was closer into the second half than this.
Earlier, yeah. We played well early and then fell apart. So I won't argue that, but I'm just saying, like, margin of victory aside, it is what it is. This is how it's been against Alabama basically every time we played them. I don't think it necessarily means a whole lot in the grand scheme of where our season's going to end. You would have liked to see them play better. What I will say is most of the other games that are on the schedule, in case anyone hasn't paid attention to watching some of the other teams that we play, they're not remotely on this level. I think, we see anyone who's watched Ohio State, it's shown some high level ability. And obviously Oregon, if there were two teams that I'd say right now are probably the ones, if this is the version of Bama that's out there, and Oregon are the two that I've looked at and been like, okay, if this is how these teams are going to play, they're just going to carve people up, because Bama looked like they took their foot off the gas against us, but they were still like, we're going to continue to run our offense.
I would take this comment and revise it a little bit too. 90% of Power 4 teams would have games like this. What percentage of teams playing with a backup quarterback have games like this, right? Like, we can't forget that either. And I think that, like, there is just a level of, like, we have a quarterback that we wanted, that we paid for, that we brought in to play this year. And I just think that, like, we don't know what that's going to look like. We have a very, very, very small sample size, of which I liked that sample size. I know you necessarily did not, Ryan, but I did. And I think that there is really that piece of it as well. And so a lot of these things about what's fixable, they do get fixed with the better quarterback. They do get fixed with the time that you have with the offensive line getting better. And, they do get fixed with our defensive front being more stout. Like, there is still something here. And I am reaching. I recognize that before the comments come in. I understand I'm reaching. I understand that people are, like, upset, but I'm just, we're playing with our backup quarterback when we went to Tuscaloosa. That's a very, very tough situation.
I think that's super fair. And Will Hanna has a comment down here. While I thought many were too optimistic before this game, I think many are reacting to this loss. That's probably a very fair point as well, Will. I've been on probably the president of the Danny O'Neill fan train. He didn't play well. He didn't play well at all. And I think if you watch this game today, I think Billy Edwards hits Vinny on that deep shot. I think he probably doesn't throw that first pick. If you go back to that moment in the game,
that was everything.
That was everything, right? Because one of the keys we had in this game was, if you're going to have a shot here, you got to start fast. And you had the fourth down stop. Now, if you go back and watch that fourth down stop, they had a wide open touchdown. This is probably a precursor of things that come that Tyson just missed. That actually wasn't a great defensive stop, right? Simply just missed a deep shot.
So,
if we finish that off, we just got the fourth down stop. You're feeling yourself a little bit. Then you have the ball in their territory. If you just don't throw that pick right there, right? Even if you punted and you just pinned them, that was such a deflating moment. And you can't throw that pass, man. And Billy doesn't throw that pass. I think it's a very fair point, Rajiv.
Well, what I was going to say is, even under Jimmy, there were times when we could have gotten gashed and we didn't, because there was some pressure there. And that saved us. And I feel like that's kind of what we got away with there. Like, in the first couple of drives, we were getting in his face a little bit, and his feet were a little happy. And then he settled down and started carving us up. But that's how you get away with it. Like, every team has busted coverages to some extent in a game. Whether it's going to be a touchdown or whatever, a lot of it is decided by the pass rush. Whether a quarterback has the vision to be able to see it downfield. It happens all the time in college football. But that being said, it doesn't really matter in this game. Looking at this, if you're going to talk about the backup quarterback thing with the comment that was up there, I look at this and I'm kind of like, what did we expect from this game? Like, really, like, legitimately, like going forward, let's talk about looking at this Maryland. To me, is such a massive game
For sure.
in terms of us being able to course correct and look at it and be like, if they show up and play well in that game, I look at it and be like, okay, this Maryland's kind of in the context of probably the lower end of the majority of the rest of the teams you're going to play. And if you're competitive in that game or you play well in that game, it tells you that you're probably going to be able to play with every other team that's on there, other than the ones that we've kind of earmarked as likely losses. Gives yourself a chance. And I think that's where I get frustrated when everyone kind of goes doom and gloom. It's like we all were hoping for bowl eligibility this year. And if that's where we're at, then it's a step in the right direction.
I still want to win my 7 games.
Oh, I still want to get my 8 games. But like I said, even when we did it, I was 8-4 with a chance of 6-6, because I was like, a lot of these games, it's not like I feel strongly about the wins. They feel a lot like they're games that could go either way, that I'm just hopeful that they end up figuring out a way to win. But I think they're close enough that from a talent perspective that we have a chance to win them.
Let's go back to the question that we earmarked earlier. And I don't think I meant to, so I forget who asked it, and I apologize. But somebody brought up our preseason predictions, right? Justin, you were at 8-4. Rajiva, you and I were at 7-5. I think it's a good point. 3 games in, we've seen the out of conference at this point. Do we want to revise our picks? Would you in this moment if you could?
So my answer to that is no. And the only caveat to that is, if Billy Edwards is out longer term than what we are hoping, then I would revise it. But I believe that, like we all said, we were going to be 3-1 after Maryland, and I think we're going to be 3-1 after Maryland. That's exactly where we thought we were going to be. And the next 4 games, we all said we were pretty much going to win at least one of them, or hoping to win Iowa or whatever. I think so. Some of us did. But that's all I want. That's all I predicted, was to win one more game the next 4. I think we can still do that. Mm-hmm. So do I think that we can be 7-5 still? Absolutely. But Billy Edwards needs to play. Jake Renfro's got to stay healthy. And Luke Fickell's got to do his part, which means you've got to stop with the penalties. You've got to stop with the silly mistakes. Like, we've got to be better coaching. Coaching was an issue, and I think that has to improve. So do I still think it happens? Yes. Am I changing my prediction? No. We're exactly where I thought we were going to be as far as record. Maryland is a really important game.
I agree with that.
I would downgrade mine 1. And I said that after the Miami of Ohio game. I was 7-5. I'm now 6-6. I think this offensive line is significantly worse than we thought. The depth is non-existent. I don't think before the season we thought the depth was going to be this bad. I really don't. I thought the running game would look better. Quite frankly, we didn't even test their cornerbacks very much today. I don't know if we can get separation on our receivers. And I don't know if our secondary is as good as we thought, guys. I think there's more things here that we were cautiously optimistic about that haven't looked as good as we probably thought. That 6-6. Geez, I can't talk. Still gets us to a bowl game. Mm-hmm. I'm not jumping off the cliff with the Bama game. I do think after 3 games, I feel a little worse about this team than before 3 games, which is where our records were based on.
I feel worse and better. I feel worse about certain things and better about certain things. I do feel better about the defensive front 7. I've been very consistent with that. I do feel better about that. I really do. I feel better about the flock of receivers, the distribution to this entire receiving core and what that looks like, and Lance Mason. And I'm definitely feeling worse about the O-line. I'm definitely feeling worse about the secondary. So I just think that there's a little give and take, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, 8-4 is crazy. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I there's a reason why I said 8-4 was 6-6. I don't feel strongly about those 2 wins.
To be fair, 8-4 was your prediction.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm not gonna talk like a putz in the chat and kind of take pot shots at it. Yeah, I probably would drop one off. I think it's more likely that they will cough one up that they shouldn't. I also think that their defense might be the best unit in a lot of those games in the second half of the season. I just don't know how many teams are going to be able to really attack the secondary. And I don't think we're going to see quarterback play that is really going to be able to attack it, which means if the offense grows at all, which I think it will, because I do think it is a real scheme, I think they will be better in the second half of the season offensively, which will help them to win some of these games.
Jason says, I've never seen Ryan so negative before. Probably true. It's probably true. It's probably true. But Jason, I always appreciate you, man. Listen, Rajiv is right. Billy back is going to help. Renfro being healthy is going to help. Justin's right. The level of competition going down is going to help. I do think we beat Maryland. I honest to goodness, though, just thought we would look. I thought we would lose. I mean, the first prediction I did, this was the score of the game. But I just thought our secondary would look more competitive. I thought we would look better.
And I didn't think Simpson would be this good. I thought we would rattle him a little bit.
Sorry, Justin, to cut you off and ask you guys a question, because I do think this is an important thing. Like, we all agree that we're better than what we played today. We all agree that we're going to beat Maryland. But, like, how does this game affect this team? Like, what kind of negative effect can a result like that and a performance like that, and frankly just getting beaten off the field, they took their foot off the gas again, like, what does that do for us mentally? Is there any chance that this can lead our team into a spiral? Ryan, I'm interested in your take on that.
I hope so. It's a really good question. This is a team that all off season talked about being competitive for 4 quarters, right? Embracing the challenge. This is the schedule. We embrace it. We want this. And what else are you going to say, right? But when then you go down there and you get beat like this, does that ring through to the locker room? It's going to come down to leadership. It's going to come down to those guys that are the leaders on this team, the captains on the team, the Renfros, the Edwards, the Daryl Petersons, the Christian Allegros, Preston Zachmans. It's going to be, I'll tell you this, we're going to find out a lot about this team with how they start against Maryland. Like, how does the coaching staff this week get this team ready to play? Because big picture, if they go on a run here, and when I say run, they beat Maryland, they compete against Michigan, they win some Big Ten games, this Alabama game isn't going to be the biggest thing in the world. But that first part of that Maryland game, they have to be so locked in, because if this lingers, that's on the coaching staff, and that's a problem inside the locker room. I think it's a great question, Chief. I don't have a great answer for it because I don't know.
What do you think, Justin?
I think if one loss rocks them this much and they don't show up, I think you legitimately have to look at replacing this staff. Because if these teams are going to be this mentally weak every time we have a game where we don't play well, then you have the wrong guy in charge. Like, your teams have to be able to learn to recover.
I think is a really good point, Justin. And that's kind of where I was sort of going with it as well. Like, I think, and Badger Bournemouth says, and good day for you and me and our other sport buddy, is like, are any worries yet about Fickell? I think this is a very big test for Luke Fickell. There are a lot of people in this chat that are already out of Luke Fickell, and I understand if you are after that performance. I hear you. This Maryland is a kind of game that if this doesn't work out and if this doesn't play well and if we lose that game, like, this is a line in the sand, to quote Paul Chris, like, for Luke Fickell. You need to do this. You have to be able to coach the bad, stupid mental mistakes out of this team. You have to be able to coach to put us in a really good position to win, to not make those mistakes, to play our best. We're playing at home. We're playing a team we need to beat. Like, this is a very, very big game for Luke Fickell. And if we don't see what we expect to see next weekend, I think that line of he's not going to be our guy, I think that line starts to appear.
Mm-hmm. That's well said. Can I give you guys another positive I thought out of this? I know
you got what was that? What was
got one? All right. You're on the board.
I'll give you 2. It's Vinny. I had Vinny, right? To be fair, I had Vinny as 1. I actually kind of liked our receivers in this game. They didn't give a ton of opportunities because Danny, quite frankly, wasn't the guy to push the ball to them, and our pass protection didn't fully hold up. But you saw Ballard down the sideline really compete for a ball on a one-on-one ball that I thought he played it remarkably well. You saw Vinny get separation on a double move where I think, again, Billy Edwards hits that. That's against an SEC. That's an NFL corner. We talked to the Bama guys before the game. Both of those corners are going to play in the league. Vinny toasted him. Like, Vinny toasted that dude. I thought Brooks, Tretch kind of tackled my guy, but I thought Brooks on a slant pattern would have moved the ball. I thought another play where Vinny was open, he didn't get the ball. One of the questions coming into this was, would our receivers be able to generate separation? I think Vinny proved that, yeah, I can generate separation against any athlete you put me on the boundary against. Can the quarterback get me the ball? Can the offensive line hold up? Separate questions. I came away from this being pretty positive on the receivers, actually, because Ballard had an open deep post as well that we didn't hit him on. So I think receivers stock up after this. That would be another positive I'd throw out there.
And you know what? Like, I'm very excited to watch the all-22s in this game because there were times where we saw O'Neal holding onto the ball, scrambling, like Could he have made some throws? Like, did the interceptions rattle him to the point where he wasn't really taking chances, especially the first one, that wasn't taking chances? Because there were times where he held the ball and I'm like, ooh, like, was there really nobody open? And what you're saying, I agree with you. I think our receivers did pretty well. Again, we won't know until we'll see it. But I do think that I'm guessing there were opportunities that he could have released that ball earlier to find some of those guys, because I think our receivers really are a strength of this team.
Yeah. He looked a little rattled. I'm going to be fair. Matthew says there's the Ryan we all know and love. He looked a little deer in the headlights, Daniel O'Neal, and that probably should be expected. Something I said about Daniel O'Neal, I think it's fair. And Rajiv, I think this is a show you and I were on. We kind of talked about don't judge him completely based on what happened against Middle Tennessee State. Also, don't judge him completely based on what happens against Bama on the road. The truth for him is somewhere in the middle, I think. But he did not look good today, man. And I think you're probably correct that Billy is a better fit right now.
For sure. I can't, please come back from Maryland, buddy. Please come back from Maryland.
Yeah, that would be big.
Any final thoughts, guys? Justin, Rajiv, anything else we didn't hit on? Anything else you wanted to put out there before we kind of wrap this one up? Then we'll throw a couple more of your guys' comments in as well. We got a couple more starred ones to hit.
Honestly, flush this tape, regroup, and get everybody locked in for next week. Hopefully the offensive line gets another week to prep together. Hopefully they never put Kadenko at center ever again. And honestly, if Billy can play next week, I think that's big for this team, and I think that can finally get them some confidence and hopefully get them rolling a little bit.
I know that sometimes I'm a broken record when it comes to let's see what happens. Let's see, can we improve? And I feel like some people just be like, we're never going to, and that's a respectable take. I feel like next week is very telling for us, because this is a team that we need to beat. And there are no excuses. Even if Danny O'Neal is a starting quarterback next week, that's how it is. We went to Tuscaloosa with a backup quarterback, and we threw two very bad interceptions. Let's just put that in perspective and remember that Alabama's still Alabama. And I understand it's very tough, and I understand there were a lot of things we can clean up, but I'm still going to choose to believe that this team can come out of this and make good things happen. I am running out of optimism for you, Luke Fickell. I'm running out. I mean, there's a limit to how much I'm going to keep being he can find a way out of this. We're moving down that line. We're moving through that progression. So I need to see it. And that's where I'll end it. We need to see it. Let's see some action. We've gotten better. We've taken some steps. Take a bigger step and get some big wins on this schedule.
Yeah, Brandon Fishman said positive takeaway. Bama could run us today. That is correct. I meant to bring this up earlier, guys, and I just thought of it now. Two of my more disappointing moments in this game. This is maybe this is kind of why I'm so jilted here, because I didn't expect Daniel O'Neal to be great today. I really didn't expect us to score a ton of points today. Before the half, Bama's up 14-0. They get the ball to the 2-yard line, and they drive 98 yards. That we talked about it. The defense should be the strength of this team. That front seven. Before the half, guys, 14-0, going to halftime 14-0. You pinned them. Ballard pinned them at the 2, and they drove 98 yards like it was easy. And then come out of the half. Okay, 21-0. We all kind of know the game's probably not, but 28-0's a game. 28-0's a ball game. First play, they hit the Ryan Williams down the sideline. I don't know if he really gets touched. Dude, the defense has to blow up. The defense is healthy. We talked about the offense, right? Renfro's hurt, limited. The tackle, Laywood's out, backup quarterback. The defense isn't hurt. The defense isn't hurt. And they got murdered at times when they needed to bow up, and not to win this game, but bow up to make it respectable. And I think maybe as I search my feelings, these are therapy sessions. As I search my feelings, I think maybe that's what I'm most frustrated about, is there are moments for the defense to keep the Badgers at least nominally in this game. And dude, they couldn't do anything. From Tressel on down to that front seven, it was a abject failure in those moments, guys.
Yeah, I almost want to just forget about that, a secondary performance, because you're right, man. They just carved us up. And I do put a lot of that on Ty Simpson playing really well. I put a lot of that on them having great route running receivers. And that's probably just the optimistic side of it. But yeah, I mean, our secondary looked poor. Rico Hallman, if you want to play in the NFL, I mean, you got to show it.
Yeah, I think you pretty much flush that at this point, unless he somehow plays like a Thorpe winner over the remainder of the schedule.
Yeah, guys. This is fun as always. I guess as fun as it can be.
Good therapy.
It's not
good
bad.
therapy.
I don't know why I said that. This sucks, but it is fun to hang out with you guys. It's awesome to hang out with you guys. Awesome to hang out with people in the community. We did have one other question come up here. I think was interesting to get your guys' quick take on. Does this impact recruiting? I didn't see who kind of threw the question in there, but Justin, obviously recruiting something you dive into a ton. Losses like this impact recruiting? Yes, no?
I think to a degree, always, especially if you're competing against those teams. Like if Bama's going against a recruit against us, which happens, every once in a while, yeah, it affects you. It also allows other teams to negatively recruit you when you aren't competitive in a game like this.
Yeah, listen, I'm worried about that. Really, really am. Next Friday, I'm going to see Ryan Hopkins play here in Vegas against Bishop Gorman. And the first thing I thought about when this game ended was, gee, I really hope we can keep him.
Well, he's not going anywhere.
I
can
mean,
tell you that right now. After they lost the Centennial this last.
All I'm saying is, like, I think that, like, I do think this can affect things, which is why you need to see the belief in Fickle. The recruits have to see the belief in him. Well, he's got to show it now. So Fickle, the ball's in your court. Make us better.
Turn it around against Maryland. As T-Temp says, if we lose to Maryland, do we win another game? I don't even want to talk about that. Let's beat Maryland. Let's turn it around. Because if we do lose to Maryland,
yeah, it will be shocking if we do, given our front seven is pretty good and they're starting a true freshman quarterback. Listen, Tressel, if you can't rattle a true freshman, then you need to go.
If we lose to Maryland, I'm telling you right now, and I will say this as loud as I can, or there will be no positivity and there will be no optimism from coming from me.
I think at that point
I will be done if we lose to Maryland.
I think we all will be. If they lose to Maryland, in my opinion, the only thing that would save Fickle from being out the door is his buyout. And that's really the only thing that would stop you from making that change.
Kefo says if they lose to Maryland, Ryan will resign from Locked On. Absolutely not, because basketball's coming, and I cannot wait to see.
That's something to be happy about.
No, I think we beat Maryland. But that doesn't shield me from the fact that I'm still pretty disappointed about today's game. All right, guys, we'll wrap up there. Appreciate everybody. If you're in the chat, give a shout out to Mike. Mike is behind the mic. He's the one managing chats and comments and all of that today. So one of the things we tried to do is be a little more present in the conversations we're having. And it's really hard to do that if I'm hitting chats and I'm also over here. So Mike is behind the scenes. He's awesome, veteran. Definitely give a shout out to Mike in the chat behind the mic, kind of helping us. Yeah, Evan Gabriel says, go Mike. So he definitely appreciative of that, man. Helps this channel flow smoother and it creates a better conversation. So hopefully you guys have noticed that. And that's all credit to him. He's donating his time. So very, very grateful for him. On Wisconsin, you guys, really do appreciate all of you as always. No matter what, win, lose, or indifferent, we are here together in this community. Go check out Bucky Report, Justin and Rajiv. I'm sure obviously a bunch more content on this channel as well. And we will talk later on Wisconsin, as always.